Today's class is thromboembolism in pregnancy. Very important topic, especially in pregnancy. We are getting the case of DVT, and in purpurum especially, we are getting patients with deep vein thrombosis. And important also in COVID time, where a new theory is coming around that this virus, inflammatory reaction with this virus causes thrombosis in whole system, especially in the lungs. So before understanding this thromboembolism in pregnancy, we should know some basic definition, which you already studied in your pathology class, physiology class, and the treatment you studied in the pharmacology class. So today we will take the clinical presentations, because all the pathophysiology of the coagulation system you studied in physiology class and your pathology class. So we are just revising a few small words so that you can continue it with your class. Firstly, what is homeostasis? Homeostasis, as we studied in the physiology, this is a process by which the blood maintains itself in the fluid state instead of clotting. And second is thrombosis. What is thrombosis? If homeostasis is not maintained, then what will occur? Blood will form a clot. Then this clot is within the vessel is said to be thrombus. And when this thrombus dislocates from its position from the vessel to other side, then it becomes a embolus. Now coming to our topic, that is thromboembolism. The chances of thromboembolism. Firstly, we will talk about the incidence. The risk of venous thrombosis and pulmonary embolism is highest during the pregnancy and purpurum. Why? Because these are hypercoagulable states. Why they are hypercoagulable state? We study it during the normal physiology or changes in the pregnancy. If pregnancy is a hypercoagulable, so that if there any bleeding occur, like in form of antepartum hemorrhage, postpartum hemorrhage, then our body can save itself by these processes. So these processes are in the normal physiology. We studied in the normal physiology chapter that there are so many changes. There is the increase in blood volume, there is increase in the cardiac output, there is the increased coagulability factors and decreased antifibrinolytic factors. Right. Now pulmonary embolism, that is also increases during the pregnancy, especially we are getting case during the postpartum period. And now coming to the maternal mortality causes. As we know, hemorrhage is the direct leading first cause and followed by thrombo. These are direct leading, and indirect most common cause, that is anemia. Because these things, if a patient is anemic and in those postpartum hemorrhage occur, or either a thromboembolism, chances of thromboembolism are also increased with the anemia, then that is an indirect cause. And commonly direct cause is that is PPH and the thromboembolism. Now, what we will study in the thromboembolism, one is superficial thrombocarditis, that is the inflammation of superficial veins, and second is deep vein thrombosis, third is pulmonary embolism and thrombophilia. We will study these basic things. Yes, venous thromboembolism, that is the leading cause, one of the leading cause for the maternal death directly. And the pulmonary thromboembolism and the DVT chances are during pregnancy out of 1,000 patients, there is the chances, and in purpurum it doubles the chances, because that is the main risk factor after delivery increases in the purpurum period, because infection increases during this time, dehydration increases during this time. Firstly, one of the other causes, like patient has gone through any operative vaginal delivery, then chances are much more increased. Secondly, there in our country, there is the tendency, people are not taking proper amount of the fluid during this period. They become static, there is immobilization. Now, since few years, there is a decrease in these chances, decrease in cause of pulmonary embolism and DUT. Why they are decreasing? Because now we're mobilizing the patient earlier. Just after the cesarean, we are mobilizing after 4 to 6 hours. In normal delivery, we are mobilizing the patient after some time. Earlier, when patient, they used to give the rest for 6 weeks. They used to lie down they allowed the patient to lie down for 7 days, then there were more chances of the DVT compared to earlier now. But now, as the chance of the anemia are more, there are more patients. Like in the North India, around 50% anemia is there. Then it means with anemia, this increases. And why there is anemia? Maybe due to iron deficiency, and secondly due to protein deficiency also. So anemia is a very anemia goes on increasing nowadays, and with anemia these factor also increases. Otherwise, due to immobilization, there is decrease because now patient is much more mobile compared to earlier times. Venous thromboembolism is 10 times more common in pregnancy compared to non-pregnancy, as well as testing are different in the pregnancy and non-pregnant state. Like in embolus cases in non-pregnant, D-dimer is a specific marker, but we are not much using D-dimer in the pregnancy. Why? Because itself in the pregnancy D-dimer increases. There are many uh, indication in which the D-dimer increases. Now, what is the virtuous triad? We are just revising. This is your pathology class. That is virtuous triad means why thrombus occur and why there is a embolism. Thrombus occur due to venous stresses. And why venous stresses is more in pregnancy? Due to compression by the gravid uterus in the lower limb, stresses is more. These stresses, continuous stresses causes endothelial damage. And due to these stresses and endothelial damage, as well as there is the hypercoagulability during the pregnancy due to some physiological changes. All these were triad leads to the increased chances of deep vein thrombosis during the pregnancy, as well as in purpurium, as well as the embolism. What this shows? This shows this is the gravid uterus, and this gravid uterus compressing the iliac vein. And in left iliac vein is more compressed. Why? Because we are seeing the right iliac artery is also compressing this left iliac vein. So we are getting more deep vein thrombosis in the left iliac veins or left side leg as compared to right side due to this compression. Due to this compression, as these veins are compressed, vena cava is also compressed and veins are compressed. Iliofemoral thrombosis is much more common in the pregnancy compared to the non-pregnant state, as well as these thrombosis. If there is like any tumor mass is there, like we are talking about without pregnancy, then any mass compresses this vein, then anywhere where this is compressed, there are more chances of the thrombosis. Like in malignancy also, where stresses is important, where also coagulability increases. In those cases also, there are the more chances of DVT as well as pulmonary embolism. Secondly, vascular damage. These stresses causes the vascular damage itself. Secondly, when patient has gone through the assisted delivery or operative deliveries, like we have applied vacuum, forceps, or if we deliver the patient under septic condition, like proper asepsis is not there, then infection is more, and with infection, DVT increases. Secondly, in pregnancy, some physiological changes which lead to increase in DVT. These changes are increase in the clotting factor. There is around 20 to 200% increase in the level of the fibrinogen, as well as other factor like factor 7, 8, 9, and 10. And there is the activation of the intrinsic and extrinsic coagulation pathway if all these factors are there, like stress is there, infection is there, anemia is there, and endothelial damage is there. With increase in this clotting factor in the pregnancy, if these conditions are also present, there is the activation of the intrinsic as well as extrinsic pathway, to which activation of the factor 10, which lead to the activation of the factor 2, that is prothrombin changing into the thrombin, and from fibrinogen, there is the fibrinogen levels already increased, and that fibrinogen change into the fibrin, and there the formation of the clot. One more thing, there is the activation, activation of the platelet. There is increased level of von Willebrand factor in the pregnancy. So these are the normal pregnancy associated changes in the coagulation pathway. One more thing, there is the decrease in the anticoagulolytic and fibrinolytic activity. Protein C level and protein S level decrease by 60 to 70% during the pregnancy. And plasminogen activator inhibitor 1 level, as well as plasminogen activator inhibitor 2 level increased 2 to 3 fold in the pregnancy. That's some women are at higher risk during the pregnancy because they have some additional return. Now we will talk about the We talked about the stresses, we talked about the compression wise stresses more, we already talked about the what are the physiological changes during the pregnancy that make the pregnancy a hypercoagulable state. Now we will talk about some additional risk factor, and through calculating all these risk factor we have to mark out in which patient we have to advise for thromboprophylaxis during the pregnancy, and which are the high risk factor, which are the medium risk factor, which are the high risk patient, which are the medium risk patient, and what are low risk. Now, what are the other factor we will? If a patient is giving previous history of venous thromboembolism, like in the previous pregnancy, she was having the DVT or cortical, had the history of cortical venous thrombosis, or if she was giving the history in the family, if family history of the thromboembolism is there, or either she is a candidate of thrombophilia. If she is having history of thrombophilia in her family and in itself, if she is having the thrombophilia like protein C deficiency, protein S deficiency, factor 5 laden mutation is there, any thrombophilia, if she is giving, or she was a candidate of acquired thrombophilia, like she is having the antiphospholipid antibodies, she comes under antiphospholipid antibody syndrome, like lupus anticoagulant and anticardiolipin antibodies are positive, then these are the pre-existing risk factors which we will add in calculating the risk factor total. Other comorbidity, if she is having the other condition, like she is a case of heart disease with valvular repair, if she is a case of COPD, if she is a case of rheumatoid arthritis, any autoimmune disease, SLE, nephritis, nephrotic, any other kidney problem, or sickle cell. So these are the risk factor basically in the these generally present in non-pregnant, and these are the non-obstetric risk factor which can be present in the pregnancy. If she is with age, there is the increase in the thromboembolism as well as with increased weight, like obese patient is there, BMI is more than 30, or if BMI is 40, then there is the increased chances of the thrombosis and embolism. As we know, obese patients are more prone to embolism. If parity is more, like she is multigravida, if she is a smoker, or if she having the varicose vein, you have to in antenatal checkup you have to check all these things, plus you have to take proper history in the pre-pregnancy period as well as pregnancy period as well as in the postpartum period, so that you can find out which are the cases in which we have to start prophylactic heparin, so that their DVT chances as well as embolism chances decrease. If a patient of paraplegia, like she is having any spine problem, any spinal defect is there, any spine tumor is there, she's a case of any vertebra displacement, if like she is having paraplegia due to any condition, then this is also a risk factor for DVT. After any surgery, like any surgery occur during the pregnancy or in the postpartum period, then that is also a risk factor. In those cases, we have to find out the risk factor from here. If we are doing any surgery in the obese patient, if we are doing any surgery in the patient who is more than 40 year, 45 year, then we should start heparin in those cases, so that we can decrease the risk factor of formation of DVT as well as pulmonary embolism. Now coming to the obstetric factor, anemia most commonly, then multiple pregnancy, if she has conceived through assisted reproduction therapy, matlab she is conceived after IF, if she is a candidate of preeclampsia, or if she has gone through any cesarean section, if she has gone through the prolonged labor, or we used any operative procedure, any other operative, or we used any vacuum delivery like forceps delivery, or she has gone through PPH, or required blood transfusion, 1, 2, and 3 more units required during the transfusion, then these are the obstetric risk factor, and the previous are non-obstetric risk factor, which are the risk factor for the DVT. If she has gone through any surgical process during pregnancy like appendectomy as well as any other surgery like hernial surgery or some other surgery she has gone through, then if she was a candidate of hyperemesis gravidum in the first trimester, matlab she has gone through some dehydration, or if she has multiple diarrheal episodes, like any dehydration, but these are reversible. Why I am showing reversible? If you detect these things at the proper time, then you can hydrate the patient. As well as during surgery, if you calculated the risk, you can give her prophylactic heparin. Now coming to the what is superficial thrombophlebitis. Superficial thrombophlebitis is the inflammation of the superficial veins, as you see in this photograph. What is this show? This is a cord-like structure. Vein is seen like cord-like structure. Redness is seen, and this area will be warm. So swelling and tenderness in the lower extremities, or especially in the legs. Tenderness, this area can be tender, this can be warm, as well as veins are seen as the cord-like structure. Now what treatment for superficial thrombophlebitis? We will just give her some rest, as well as we will give her medication for the pain, and she relieved by the anti-inflammatory. So no requirement of anticoagulant in these cases, just anti-inflammatory we needed. Now coming to the deep vein thrombosis. Deep vein thrombosis, mostly we are getting these cases in the puerperium period, but you can get these cases during antenatal period also. In 50% cases can be asymptomatic. That's why we have to calculate the risk factor, because sometimes a case is asymptomatic for DVT, but after that, this can be the case of pulmonary embolism. Uh, by calculating the risk factor, we can find out which are the high risk patients. DVT is more common in the left, because we already seen by the gravity uterus. This left iliac vein is much more compressible, or it also compressed by the right iliac artery. It is much more common in the left leg as compared to the right leg. Pain, you can go for Homan sign in these cases, but earlier it was used. Nowadays we can use Doppler ultrasound to make out our diagnosis, and we are not doing this homicide nowadays, because we are thinking thrombus can be changed into embolus, and it can move from the legs to the chest. Now how the patient will present? Patient will complain of swelling in the leg, patient will complain of tingling, patient will complain of tightness, especially while walking. Now what we see in this photo, red and hot swollen leg. We are seeing our leg, one of the leg which is swollen, as well as that is redness, and we have to compare both the leg. If we are getting tightness, if we are getting increased diameter, it means we have to think about DVT. Then we have to calculate, uh, already we should calculate risk factor. If we have not calculated already, then we should also find out what can be the cause of DVT. Like it's a case of infection, or it's a case of anemia. We have to find out other causes. After that, what we will do for our confirmation of our finding, or for the starting of our treatment, we will go the patient for the radiological checkup. Now in the radiological checkup, what modality we will use? We will use Doppler ultrasound. What we are seeing in normal cases, what we will see in the Doppler, firstly this is the femoral artery, and this is the femoral vein. So normal, we are seeing in the Doppler like this, vein and artery. In cases, if we are pressing this vein, then this vein is compressible in the normal case. Why this is compressible? Because we know the venous lining is thin compared to artery, so this is easily compressible. But if the thrombus is there, then it is not compressible. In the next, what we are seeing, veins are compressed, and we are seeing the artery. In next, if we are suspecting DVT, what we will get in the ultrasound? This shows upper is femoral artery, and your lower part is femoral vein, and in this vein we are getting a thrombus. We are seeing this homogeneous area is thrombus, and it is not compressible. This is the artery, and this is the thrombus in the vein. Seeing this here, these are compressible. This is a normal case, and this is a case of DVT in which we are suspecting DVT. Now come on to we studied how DVT will present. Leg will be like this, and this will be confirmation. Now coming to the pulmonary embolism. If case pulmonary embolism, in generally 80% to 90% cases, generally there is presentation after the iliofemoral thrombosis. In very rare cases, we are not able to find thrombus, and we are directly getting the case of pulmonary embolism. In most of cases, if we find timely calculate the risk factor, and if we timely have gone through the Doppler ultrasound, and if we timely started the prophylaxis, then there will be less chances of pulmonary embolism cases. But if we are getting the patient directly with difficulty in the breathing, like nowadays we are getting like COVID-19 patient like with pulmonary embolisms, physicians are getting like this. There is this sudden difficulty in the breathing. Patient complain of pain in the chest pain. Like these patients present, generally we are confusing these patient with the MI, myocardial infarction patient. But if a pregnant patient in the purpurium period and there are risk factor present, and she is complaining of the sudden chest pain, and she is complaining of sudden difficulty, and if X-ray is clear, then we have to think about the pulmonary embolism. Patient can directly goes into the collapsed condition. She may complain of hemoptysis, and tachypnea can be there. And on blood gas analysis, there is hypoxemia. PO2 level decreases and PCO2 level increases. So what this diagram shows, there is the thrombosis in this iliofemoral veins. From this thrombosis, there is clot which flows from here, that is said to be embolus, which goes through the vena cava, inferior vena cava. From inferior vena cava, it goes to the heart, and from heart through the pulmonary arteries goes into the lungs. In the lungs, patient will present with the pain, and patient will present with difficulty in the breathing. If then how can we can make our diagnosis for confirmation? In non-pregnant patient, we can go for D-dimer test, but in pregnant patient, with as already we discussed, D-dimer can be increased in the normal pregnancy normally. Then we have to go for ventilation perfusion scan, or we can nowadays we go for CT angiography, cytovenography. In this what we got in the perfusion scan, like this is the CT finding. In this CT finding, this is the pulmonary artery, and in the pulmonary artery you are getting a thrombus. This is the CT angiography, and this is the ventilation perfusion scan. In ventilation perfusion scan, like some area which should be ventilated, then due to thrombus, we are getting a mismatch in the ventilation perfusion. So this is the ventilation perfusion scan, and this is the CT angiography finding, and this is how pulmonary embolism take place, what are the risk factor pulmonary embolism, and how we can make out the diagnosis